Okay, this is LaDonna with And She Saw Stars, and I'm doing a book promo, and this one is for my new Moon Ascendant. It's a novella, fantasy, okay? And it's sort of about fairy, and the other side is what I refer to it. There, okay? And sort of the story about a girl named Samantha, and relationship between two cities, and sort of her caught in the middle a little bit. Okay, now I read an excerpt of this for the Paris Writers Workshop, and it was really well received, and people really liked it. I don't think I'm going to read that excerpt that I read there in Paris a while ago. I think I'm going to read this other one, and I hope that I'm trying to generate some buzz for the book, of course. But I really want to get into this thing where people can sort of see a little bit about my writing, a little bit about my book, and how fun novellas can be again. And a lot of times people find, I don't want to say some of the titles, but War and Peace, where it's like daunting, and you want to really get in and you want to read, but sometimes it's just like, how do I get in to some of these books? They're a bit long, they're a bit lengthy, and it's sort of daunting, and I'm tired or whatever, and I want to have a good time. That's not why I wrote this book, okay? The story just happened to be, as I told it, novella length. But it's a good promo to sort of talk about for those that aren't, into sort of reading lengthy books. They want a nice story in a good way, and a length of time, and they don't want to lose their whole life to it. They want to be able to stay with the story. Sometimes reading longer stories, you fall off on the wagon with the characters. So what I'm trying to say is that this is a good book for staying with the characters, at least in my mind, and I hope you like it. It's available at lulu.com, and it's also available online at Barnes & Noble and stuff like that. And I'm going to give it a start, and we'll go on. Okay? Salem stood at the opening of the sisters' cavern. He was not alone. His uncle Aaron was with him. The wind whipped around the rocks that jutted along the narrow pathway. A faint light could be seen coming from within. The sisters were at home. Salem cast one look at his uncle, who stood staunchly behind him, his hand resting on the pommel of his sword. Salem breathed out slowly. Two shadows formed and stood before him. Tell the sisters we are here. Ask if they will see us. Salem's shadows smiled mischievously and dissipated. The sisters will see us, Salem. There is no need to ask. Salem didn't respond. He knew his uncle was correct, but he preferred to announce his presence. The sisters were wily creatures on their best days. Better to get a sense of their temperament via his shadows, initially before going in directly. He needed to be focused. The sisters would likely want something in return for their assistance, and if they chose to offer it. He needed to be sure that whatever terms he agreed to were cast in his favor. Salem was startled out of his thoughts. His uncle stood at his side. I will not be able to go in with you, but I will wait for your return. If you do not emerge in a good amount of time, I will bring in reinforcements. Salem was a bit surprised, but he accepted it. He nodded in acknowledgement and returned his gaze towards the mouth of the cavern. His shadows were returning. They will see you, they said in unison. Salem gave a curt nod and drew his shadows towards him. They dissolved, imparting impressions of what they had encountered while separated from him. Images of a narrowing of the cavern passage, stone bridge, and the waiting figures of the sisters streamed into his consciousness. His shadows had spoken to the youngest, but eldest and second eldest looked on. An image of a tendril of auburn hair reaching out towards one of his shadows, lingered in his mind as he walked towards the cave. Salen, be careful. Eldest will try to take some of your hair, is her way. Salen nodded, but did not look back. He walked into the darkness and allowed his vision to take in the shades of black and differentiate what lay in his path. He walked without hesitation, past the jutting rocks to where the cavern narrowed. He walked up the gentle slope towards the stone bridge. On either side of the bridge was an unfathomable drop. But he wasn't worried about a potential fall. The only thing on his mind was the need to prevent this new moon from becoming the future Lady Loon. He crossed the bridge and entered the main living space of the sisters. "Lord Salen!" the youngest exclaimed. An albino girl dressed in traditional troll warrior dress approached. Her indigo cloak set a stark contrast to her pale eyes and hair. She was fairly tall and slender, a magpie perched on her shoulder. Salen bowed. As he did, he caught a glimpse of several magpies perched throughout the spacious room. "Salen Moonshadow, it has been some time since we've had the opportunity of being in your company." Salen turned to stare into the deep blue eyes of Eldest. Her auburn hair moved slightly like additional appendages. Only Eldest would be so bold as to address him by his full name. She wore a pale blue gown with threads of spun gold draped around her neck like spider's web. "It has been so long," she continued. She reached out gently with her hand towards his dark hair. Salen recoiled slightly. Second Eldest laughed. "Now, Second Eldest, it isn't nice to laugh at our guest," Eldest said coyly as she withdrew her hand. "I'm here on urgent business," Salen said, bringing himself up to his full height in an effort to regain his composure. "Yes, I know. Challenger the younger," she teased. She tossed her hair and walked over towards an elaborate desk. She leaned backwards, allowing her hair to drape over the desk top. Without taking her eyes away, strands of her hair toyed lazily with pins, feathers, and threads that were strewn about. "I suppose we must make this official," she acceded. "What is it you want?" Disinterested, she lowered her gaze and examined her nails. Salen felt insulted, but he knew Eldest would not respect his position as the challenger unless he demonstrated his ability to assume that role. It was the way of the sisters. They demanded respect and only respected those they considered to be their peers. He realized it was why his uncle had remained behind. Salen needed to know he had earned the sisters' respect on his own. "Perhaps Lord Salen desires a commission. Perhaps a garment of magic or beauty," the second eldest said. "Or perhaps both," the youngest added as she walked over to a plush black velvet sofa and dropped down. She placed her feet up upon the beautiful ottoman that was placed before it. The magpie fluttered slightly over her shoulder before resettling. Eldest looked up slightly. Her interest piqued. She smiled. Salen swallowed. The sisters were each lovely in their own way, but Eldest was a dangerous beauty. It was said that only Lord Solaren dared to court her directly. How could he, a mere moon shadow, compare to the embodiment of the sun? Salen could feel his courage slowly drain away, carrying his sense of self with it. He allowed himself a moment to reflect, and suddenly an idea came to him. "I would like a commission, a wardrobe for the new moon." Eldest immediately stood with a glint of caution in her eyes. Second eldest walked slowly over to her elder sister, her long dark hair slightly trailing on the floor behind her. "You mock us, Lord Salen." We three sisters know it is the role of the challenger to hinder the new moon, until she either comes into her power or perishes in the attempt. You wish us to believe you wish to bestow a gift? Wait a second, Eldest commanded as she walked away from her sister towards Salem. You've something in your mind, she whispered. She inhaled deeply around his neck and hair. I can smell it, she finished as she stepped away. Her hair gently moved towards his face and caressed his cheek, his forehead, and his temples. Stealthily, her hair moved towards his, and shortly he could feel her hair intertwined with his. He stood perfectly still as a sensual warmth grew within him. As his eyelids became heavy, a warning sounded in his mind. He went on the offensive and dissipated. He rematerialized with 3 replicas of himself, one of which was still in the embrace of the eldest. The 2 remaining sisters smiled, and the youngest also clapped. Oh, well done, Lord Salem, youngest exclaimed. Salem did an internal check and realized thankfully that he was not missing any strands of hair. He wasn't sure what his shadow was experiencing, but would find out in due time when he called it back. Now, okay, I think I shall end it here. This is a juicy excerpt from my book, Moon Ascendant, a fantasy novella. And the characters of youngest, second eldest, and eldest are 3 sisters, okay? And they're great characters. And Salem, his uncle Aaron. Yes, and Salem. These are great characters in my book, and I hope you take a chance and buy it. It's probably $30, okay? And it's a novella, fantasy, and it's available at lulu.com. I'm, of course, available to do readings, okay? And of excerpts of my book and promotion or whatever. But also, if you're having writers' workshops, I'm willing to come and do some sort of guest reading excerpts of my books, okay? Or even some of my other writings that I'm working on, like 42 Lavender Lane or something like that. I have some other stuff, but I'll talk about that, if you're interested. And what I really want is for people to really, get into this sort of writing, and so get into this fantasy of novella of the other side, and fairy seen in another way, on trolls. Not quite as we would expect. Not these burly Neanderthal things, but men of purpose. Swords, women, death. Who dares take my hair? Now, this is where we look to that, okay? And we see the stuff of the moon shadows and the stuff of Lady Loon, the one young girl, Samantha, who is moving in that way, okay? Will she make it? Will she be alive? I can tell you she is running for her life at this particular point of the book. And so I won't go any further into that, but I hope you enjoy this excerpt. I hope you buy it. You can buy it online, Barnes & Noble and stuff like that. It is an ebook as well, but I'm just old school. I think hard copy, this sort of a paperback, is really great, okay, because you could bookmark and you could highlight, and then even you can use it, okay? Actors training and stuff like that, soliloquies and stuff, and actors for audition of character, of your voice. I think it's something that I want to. You don't know, okay? You gotta get in there, okay? And then in it, you'll get so much creativity. And I think you will do these things that books are for, inspiring, okay, you to read, and then to imagine, and then to read again. Okay, so this is New Moon Ascendant by LaDonna J. Davis. That's me. I'm with And She Saw Stars. That is my brand. And I have another book, Sprite, a Primer, that's out. And you can find that also online. It's also ebook and hard copy, soft copy. And I think that's also $30. Okay, so if you go and get them, I think you'll have great times, and they'll be great for autumn, great for gifts. Okay, great for those people that are tired of the same old, same old. I think that's my opinion. Okay, and that's for Spider Primer, because I think is a very unique right. And then same for New Moon Ascendant. Okay, and so they're good for gifts. Okay, Christmas is coming. Okay, and birthdays and stuff like that, and just because days. Okay, so I want to say thanks, and if you want to email me, please do. And I appreciate you. I appreciate your listening, and I hope you like the reading of an excerpt from New Moon Ascendant by LaDonna J. Davis. Okay, that's me. Okay, bye.